This is Lauren Smith Fields. She was 23 years old. She's a YouTuber, and she went on a date in December with a 41-year-old white man who she met on Bumble. He then called 911 because she was deceased in her apartment at the end of their date. Police arrived on scene and said he seemed like a nice man, so they sent him on his way.
23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields was found dead in her Bridgeport, Connecticut apartment after going on a date. It has been 1 month nearly to the day since TikTok took up Lauren Smith Fields' case. And today, because of the pressure of 9.7 million people saying her name, the Bridgeport Police Department will open an investigation into her death. We now know he told police he had been invited over, they had tequila shots, they had food, she passed out on the couch, he brought her into the bed, and he woke up in the morning and she was dead. When police initially investigated the crime scene, they only took her passport, $1,300, her cell phone, and her credit card, and never notified the family. The family found out that their daughter had died when they showed up to her apartment because she wasn't answering her phone, and there was a note on the door from the landlord that said, "If you're looking for Lauren, call me." They also didn't collect the bloody sheets, sedative pills, or used condom.
A young woman died under mysterious circumstances, and you'd think that the police would investigate this, but apparently not. That is up until a bunch of TikTokers got together and decided to talk about this to try and pressure the police department in order to investigating the circumstances of this woman's death. Now, this woman was a famous YouTuber, and so already had a little bit of an audience where people were concerned about who she was and people want to stay up to date. But the fact of the matter is, this happens all the time across the United States of America.
We're still at the very early stages of this investigation. We still have lots of witnesses to interview, body-worn video and other video evidence to go over, and evidence to collect. So this is very early stages of this investigation.
In LA, the Twitter account Film the Police is seen asking better, more pointed questions than local media.
You said the suspect's weapon was collected at the scene. What was the weapon?
You know, we're just only describing it as a weapon at this time as the investigation goes.
Was it a handgun?
Yes. Yeah, again, we're describing it as a weapon.
Was it a knife? Was it a handgun or a knife?
You know, we just got several 911 calls that there was a man in the area armed with a handgun.
Was a handgun found at the scene?
A weapon was...
What kind of weapon?
Yes. The area around Martin Luther King,
See, this is ridiculous.
and Crenshaw will be impacted for several hours. And again, this is
but why can't you just give a straight answer? Honestly, give a straight answer. You say there's a weapon at the scene. What is the weapon? You know what it is.
You want to answer?
I haven't had a chance to look at the weapon.
Well, you can go find out right now. Walk down there and find out what the weapon is.
This is how you press the spokesperson for answers and try to pry information to prevent a narrative being spun.
Neighbors are telling us
It was
there's
children's
absolutely
outside.
no handgun involved here. That this man was shot in the back
In front of children.
In front of children.
Shot in the back.
Well, again, we're at the very early stages of this.
Then go do your job, then. Everything you're saying is useless. This is all useless. This is just damage control. You shot a man in the back. Your cop shot a man in the back, and he didn't have a gun. You got some nerve as you come here and come to the cameras and start feeding them a bunch of. You got some nerve.
So obviously, someone was right.
He calls BS, and guess what? He was right.
And a uniformed patrol officer arrived.
This is Michael Moore, chief of the LAPD. You may remember him from this troubling quote.
We didn't have protests last night. We had criminal acts. We didn't have people mourning the death of this man, George Floyd. We had people capitalizing. His death is on their hands, as much as it is those officers.
Putting the death of George Floyd, who died at the hands of a police officer, away from Derek Chauvin and onto the protesters. Disgusting stuff.
Officers made contact with Mr. Pete, who was in possession of a black metal latch actuator.
So they described it not as a firearm anymore, but as a black metal latch actuator. Then they give this line that should never be uttered again.
And upon his arrival, an officer-involved shooting occurred.
We must put an end to the officer-involved shooting line and call it what it is. If any outlet does this, it simply carries water for precincts across the country. Framing is important in media. The Los Angeles Times then wrote of the incident as follows. Deshanae Howard said she was parked in front of her house across the street when she saw the man walk past a bus stop near King and Degnan Boulevard and noticed that he was being tailed by several police vehicles with their lights and sirens off. We all heard him say, "I don't have anything," and he started to run, she said, adding that she saw police shoot him 3 times when his his back was turned on the shooting, Howard added. The fact that police didn't take the time to look back and see that there were kids playing. Frustration creeping into her voice, she says, my neighbor was out trimming her hedges. Another witness said there was nothing in his hands and they were shouting at him to turn over. There were many police amassing, and then finally somebody with a shield, they approached him. So what was he carrying? NBC Los Angeles reported he was holding an auto part, not a firearm. It is not yet clear why police fired their weapons. No officers were injured during this incident, wrote NBC.